hello guys, this is another episode of our WEBCUSSION. So this is a continuation ng ating discussion in our previous video, which is the measure of position. So before we proceed to our next topic, we'll just have a short recapitulation of what we discussed in the previous video. So we discussed the measure of position, the mean, the median, and the mode. And the relevance of measuring the position is we are just getting a representative from our data set or the position of our data set. So in order for us to get a representative, kailangan yung representative na yun ay fair at hindi bias. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, in order for us to get a representative doon, kaya natin kinukuha si mean, si median, at si mode. Okay? So, for this day, we will be discussing another topic, another measure in descriptive statistics, and that is the measure of variability. Okay? The measure of variability is very important in descriptive statistics because by measuring the variability, we are also acknowledging or identifying the spread of our data. In this measure of variability, we also see the distribution of the data. If it is normal or may distribution na mas malayo sa mean natin or yung spread ng data na tinatawag natin. So that is the measure of variability. To measure the variability of our data, we consider four categorization. So we have one, okay, we have the range. So yung range natin, okay, yung range na tinatawag natin, yung layo ng lowest value natin sa ating data doon sa ating highest value. So, it is computed by getting the highest value minus the lowest value. Then, after that, after we get the range, kukunin din natin si variance. So, variance denoted by a lowercase sigma square. Okay, so variance is equal to the summation of your x sub I minus your mean square over your n. So since last meeting last video we already get the mean of our data. Yung mean na yon gagamitin natin in order to measure the variability of that data. So later on makikita natin yon. Then after we get the variance, next, we have the standard deviation. Okay? So, si standard deviation is denoted by sigma. So, ibig sabihin, kapag nakuha na natin si variance, square lang natin si variance para makuha natin si standard deviation. Okay? Kukunin lang natin yung square ni variance para makuha natin si standard deviation. And the last one, we have to compute the coefficient of variation. Okay, so these are the computation, or these are the measures of variability. We have the range, the variance, the standard deviation, and the coefficient. Okay, so just like the measure of position, meron tayong iba't ibang klase ng data. So we have the ungrouped data and the grouped data. So unahin natin yung ungrouped data natin. So let's go back. Balikan natin yung previous video kapag di nyo pa nakikita. Yung ungrouped data natin, yun yung hindi siya in frequency distribution table. Okay? Pero kapag naka-frequency distribution table na siya, we call that as our group data. Kapag may mga interval na tayong nakikita. So, for example, for ungrouped data, we have this data. 10, 11, 11, 14, 14. Okay? So, before we proceed in getting the range, the variance, the standard deviation, and coefficient, it is important for us to compute first the mean. Okay, kunin muna natin si mean. Okay, so the mean is equal sa ungrouped data to the sum of all our data divided by the number of observation. So we have 10 plus 11 plus 11 plus 14 plus 14 over the number of observation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we get 60 over 5, which is 12. So that is the mean of our ungrouped data, 12. Okay? So since we already have the mean, pwede na tayo mag-proceed sa ating measures of variability. Okay, so first we have the range. So range is equal to the highest value, which is 14, minus the lowest value, which is 10, then it is equal to 4. So that is your range. Next, you have the variance. Variance denoted by the lowercase sigma square, which is equal to the summation of our x sub I minus the mean, okay, square over n from 1 to 5. Okay, so to compute, kukunin natin tag-iisa yung ating data minus the mean na nakuha natin. Okay, so we have 10 minus your mean. So you have 10 minus the mean, 12 square plus 11 minus the mean, 12 square plus 11 minus the mean square plus 14 minus the mean square plus 14 minus the mean square over n, which is 5. So we have 10 minus 12, we have negative 2 square, which is 4. Okay, plus 11 minus 12, we have negative 1 square, plus negative 1 ulit square, plus 2 square, plus 2 square over 5. Okay, so since hindi na kasya, let's erase this one. Okay, so we have negative 2 square is equal to 4. Negative 1 square is 1. Plus negative 1 square is 1 also. 2 square is 4. Plus 2 square, 4 over 5. Then 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 4 plus 1 is equal to 12, 14. Okay, 14 over 5, which is actually equal to 2.8. So that is your variance. Okay, ito yung variance natin. So once we get our variance, madali na lang sa ating compute si standard deviation. So standard deviation is actually equal to the square of your variance. So square of 2.8. Okay, so 2.8 square is equal to 1.67. That is your standard deviation. And last one, getting the coefficient variation, we have our variance, standard deviation 1.67 over the mean, which is 12 times 100. Okay, so that is our standard coefficient of variation. Okay, so 1.67, let's compute. Okay, 1.67 divided by 12 is 1.67 divided by 12 is 0.39. Okay, times 100, so magiging 13.9. So these are the measures of variability for ungrouped data. We have an example. So for range, for our variance 2.8. For our standard deviation, 1.67. And for our coefficient of variation, we have 13.9. So that is for ungrouped data. Punta naman tayo dun sa ating group data. Okay, for group data, we will be using the example that we use mula nung una. We have the measure of when we compute the frequency distribution table. So kapag hindi nyo pa yung nakikita yung video na yon, it's on our second video. Okay, the frequency distribution table. Ginamit din natin siya to measure the measure of position in our third video. Okay, so kukunin lang natin yung mga relevant data doon na pwede nating maggamit in our computation of measure of variability. So we just get the class interval, the frequency, and the class mark. Okay, so we have class interval, frequency, and class mark. Okay, to start our computation of measure of variability for group data, mahalaga na iuna na natin yung computation doon sa table natin, yung x sub I minus our mean, tapos sa x sub I minus our mean square, and we have f of I times x sub I minus mean square. So ito yung tatlo doon sa ating data na ilalagay para ma-compute natin yung measure of variability. So first, we have the measure, we have x sub I minus our mean. So from the previous video, we already computed the mean of this data. So actually, yung mean natin dito is equal to 73.23. Okay? 73.23. Okay, for class mark minus mean dun sa unang interval natin, 40 to 50, we'll just compute 45 minus 73.23. Okay, 75 times minus 73.23. So actually it is equal to 28, negative 28.23. Negative 28.23. Okay, and so on and so forth. So gagawin natin, we have 56 minus 73.23, which is equal to negative 17.23. Then we have 67 minus 73.23. We have negative 6.23. We have 78 minus 73.23. We have 4.77. 89 minus 73.23. We have 15.77. And last one, we have 100 minus 73.23, 26.77. So itong data na to, ito yung ilalagay natin dito sa ating x sub I minus our mean. Okay, so that is the first yung pang-apat na column natin doon sa ating table. So this one. Okay, so after that, okay, after we get the x sub I minus our mean, okay, lipat natin dito. We have 28.23, negative 17.23, negative 6.23, 4.77, 15.77, and 26.77. So that is for our fourth column. Okay, next we have the x sub I minus our mean square. So to get that, we're just squaring the value of our x sub I minus mean. Okay, so we have negative 28.23 square. Okay, then we have negative 17 square, and so on doon sa ating given na x sub I minus mean. So kapag in-square natin si negative 28.23, we have 796.93. Okay, next we have negative 17.23 square, which is actually equal kay, we have 296.87. Okay, so habang sinusundan nyo tong video na to, you can compute for the rest of our table, okay, para may participation pa rin. Okay, then after we compute our x sub I minus mean square, next to compute is f of I times the class mark minus our mean square. So ang gagawin lang natin, we will just multiply yung value ng ating f from to the x sub I minus mean square. Okay, so for our first table, we have 4 times 796.93, which is equal to 3187.73. Next, we have 3 times 296.87, which is actually equal to 890.62. Okay, so for the rest, pwede nyong i-compute. Then, makukuha natin yung value ng f of I times x sub I minus our mean square. Okay, so yun yung table natin. Okay, once we have our table, madali na natin i-compute si ating measure of variability. So actually, I already have the computation here. So after we compute, kukunin lang natin yung summation ng f of I times x sub I minus our mean square. Okay, so first we get the range. Okay, so in getting the range, we just need to have the highest value. We have 105 minus our lowest value, which is 40. Then we have 65. Next, after getting the range, we have to get the variance. Okay, so actually our variance is equal to the summation of our f of I from times x sub I minus mean square over our n. Okay, or our f of I. So actually, kaya kinuha natin yan kasi gagamitin natin in our variance. Okay, so the summation of our f of I times x sub I minus mean square is actually 7,667.37 over our n, which is 30. So then it is equal to 255.58. So that is our variance. So ulitin natin, kapag nakuha natin si f of I times x sub I minus mean square, kailangan natin kunin yung summation ng table natin. Okay? Kasi yun yung gagamitin natin to get our variance. So we will just getting the summation over the n, which is 30. So we have, this is our n. Okay, you have 255.58. So after we get the variance, next to get is the standard deviation. So standard deviation is equal to the square of your variance. Okay, so that is a square of 255.58, which is equal to 15.99. Okay, so that is your variance. Okay, and last one, the coefficient variation, which is actually equal to the variance 15.99 over our mean. Yung mean natin kanina, so we have 73.43 times 100. Okay, which is equal to 21.17%. So we have our range 65, our variance 255.58. We have our standard deviation 15.99, and our coefficient of variation 21.17. So bakit nga ba natin kinocompute si variability? So it is important for us to note that if we compute the variability, we are also computing the spread of the data or the distribution of the data. So dito natin makikita kung gaano kalayo yung mga data natin dun sa mean. Okay, so for example, in test result, kapag nag-compute tayo ng standard deviation, makikita natin kapag mas malaki yung standard deviation, ibig sabihin, malaki din yung distribution ng ating data. Magkakalayo sila. Okay, dun sa mean. Okay, kapag mas maliit, makikita natin yung yung compression ng ating data malapit sa ating mean. So that's why we compute the measure of variability. And it is also important na malaman natin yung measure of variability because it is widely used by teachers, most importantly in checking the performance level of the students in terms of test results. Okay, so that is our measure of variability. Okay, so after we compute our measure of variability, we have our last measure in our descriptive statistics. We have the measure of shape. So this is very easy, measure of shape. If we want to measure the shape of the data, we measure the skewness. Okay, skewness, and then after we the skewness is actually the degree of the departure from the symmetry, which depends on the comparative position of the mean, the median, and the mode. So, importante, kapag kinocompute natin yung skewness, we already identified the mean, the median, and the mode kasi doon natin makikita yung symmetry ng tatlo. And then, next one, skewness, then we have the kurtosis. Dito naman sa kurtosis, makikita natin yung peakness. Ibig sabihin gaano nga ba kataas, kababa yung distribution ng data natin. Okay, so we have the measure of shape. Okay, so first measure of shape, we have the skewness. Okay, so for skewness, we identify the three types of skewness. We have positively skew, negatively skew, and we have the unskew or symmetrical distribution, or what we call the normal. Okay, for positively skewed distribution, okay, may photo tayo dyan later. So, for positively skew, if the mean is greater than the median, the mean is greater than the value of our median. Kapag mas malaki yung mean natin, doon sa ating median, doon tayo nagkakaroon ng positively skewed distribution. So, papunta doon sa left. Okay? Yung ating, yung distribution ng ating data. Sabihin, mas marami yung data dun sa ating left. Okay? Next, we have negatively skew if the mean is less than the median. Kapag mas maliit yung mean natin kaysa ating median. Okay? So, yung distribution niya lahat nandito sa ating right. And then, last one, we have a normal distribution, which is also known as para siyang in bell shape. Okay? So, ganito yung itsura ng ating normal distributed na measurement. Okay. From our example, let's see. Kapag equal yung mean and median, kaya natin nasabing normal yung distribution. Okay. So, for example, dun sa ating example na kinuha in group, okay, our median is equal to 73.23 and our mean is equal to 73.23 and our median is 75.25. So therefore, since our mean is less than our median, so it is negatively skewed. Okay, it is negatively skewed. Okay, so that is the skewness of our data. We have positively skewed, negatively skewed, and the normal or unskewed distribution. So next measure of shape, we have the kurtosis. Okay, in kurtosis, we are checking the thickness. Gaano nga ba kataas, kababa, flat ba yung ating kurtosis. Okay, if our kurtosis is positive, we call that as leptokurtic. If it is positive, ibig sabihin masyadong mataas yung ating yung peak ng ating mga data. If it is the thickness is 0, makikita natin na normal yung ating kurtosis. Okay? And then kapag negative, we call that as platykortic. Okay? Flat naman yung thickness ng ating data. Okay? I'll just check. I think kapag 0 ang tawag natin is, okay, we call that as mesocortic. Okay? Mesocortic. Pag 0 yung ating kurtosis or yung thickness, okay, normal siya. So we have mesocortic. So we have leptocortic, positive, mesocortic, 0 yung kurtosis, and platykortic, negative yung ating kurtosis. So ganun kadali makita yung ating measure of shape. So these are different measures in our descriptive statistics. So we have first the position, measure variability, and the measure of shape. Okay? So for the next video, last topic natin in our data management, we have the correlation and regression. Okay? So that's it for this day. So I hope you're all safe, and God bless.